I believe that there's multiple people that know what happened to Lacey and that they're still out there in the community. Some may be locked up, some may not be. I think someone's conscience needs to, shake loose, and they have to do the right thing. And listen, if us and our little channel doing this coverage and so many people in the community taking notice of that and talking about it is a thing that pushes someone into doing the right thing, that would be that would make what we're doing all worthwhile. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to True Crime Unsolved. I'm Miles Reef. I'm here as always with my buddy Sean Cahill. This is the place where we tackle the stories that the TV networks won't touch. Guys, it's Monday. You know what time it is. It's time to get into some comments. Sean, before we get into all of this, do we have any channel business that we need to get into first?
Not anything new. I mean, we have had some channel business we've talked about, and I think at the end of this we might talk a little bit about some fun stuff that's coming up here. But I guess we're kind of coming around the bend to the finish line on our coverage of Lacey Anderson. We've got one more big video coming for you guys this Friday, which is going to be our suspects and theories video, where we kind of go over the various persons of interest, why there's been no charges, or what remains to be found out there, as well as some of the new evidence that came to light after our interview with Mike and Barb and what that might mean for the case. And then we're going to kind of leave it there and let you guys, comment. We'll always come back to talk more about that case. And if there's any new developments, of course, we'll revisit it. But that's about it. So I think we've got some comments from all across the board. I see some Missy Beavers stuff, some Ryan Stuka stuff, obviously Lacey Anderson stuff. So plenty to talk about, Miles. I'm excited to get into it.
Let's do it. All right. First one up. First, we're going to talk about Lacey Anderson's mysterious and unsolved death. So the first comment is from Fred Spielberg. Fred, I have to ask if there's any relation to Steven. Fred Spielberg says, I think the people you're looking for are already dead. One died from cancer and the other from a car accident. That is a very intriguing comment. Definitely doesn't align with what a lot of other people have said, and obviously with some of the main theories that are out there on this case. So, yeah, listen, if you have more information, if you want to talk, drop us a line, send us an email. Our email address is on the YouTube channel. You could also find us on Facebook. You can send us a message there. We would definitely love to know more of what you may know and who you may be talking about.
Absolutely. I will say it's interesting, the more weeks that have gone on that we've been talking about Lacey's case, the more people have gotten in touch with like characters that they think might be involved who we hadn't heard of before. It started kind of small and very close to Lacey, and now it has grown out to be cartels, people from other states, all kinds of theories. And so I don't really know who you're talking about here, Fred. Neither of those clues really ring a bell to me, but if you want to reach out and give us a little more clarity, we're open to it.
Yeah.
Thank you for the comment.
I mean, I would say the most important thing is that, as Sean said, we have one more video on the case that we know we're doing right now, and that's coming up this Friday. And we are going through all of the suspects that we know about and some of the other information that's out there, as well as, the larger idea of corruption in the area and some other things. But you guys will see the video. But that doesn't really align with any of the people that we're covering. So I'd be very, very curious to know who you may be talking about.
Absolutely. Unless this pertains to someone we know about and we just don't know this part of their story, which I guess is always possible.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know everything. We know as much as we're told. All right. Do you want me to take this next long one here?
It's a big one, but if you want to go
Sure.
for it, go for it.
So this is from Lisa Kerber. She says, as Nick's mom, oh, hi, Nick's mom. As Nick's mom, this is so hard. I've watched them go through all the ups and downs. Lacey did not deserve this. While she made some bad decisions, she was a very sweet girl with a good heart and was always smiling and happy whenever I saw her. She always said hello when I would run into her somewhere. She loved her family. That we do keep hearing. She continues, when she went missing, I did the only thing I knew how to do, and that was pray. At least twice when she went missing, I sat in front of Jamie's house holding a sign with her picture and stating, God loves you. Please tell what you know. One of those times, a man from his house approached me. I thought it was Jamie, but now I know that it was not. Interesting. At that time, he was moving a big box from his house, like a recliner-sized box, and had a roll of duct tape in his hand. We spoke a little, then he went back to the sidewalk in front of Jamie's house and was on the phone. After some time, there was at least four girls that appeared out of nowhere from four different areas of the block. At that time, I had the thought, is this what happens? Did they gang up on Lacey and deliver her to somebody? I did make a statement about this to the state patrol, but during my statement, the patrolman received a phone call and my interview was pretty much over at that point. Who was on the other end of that call? Also, that time a blonde guy in an orange sports car drove by and asked what I was doing. I told him. He had a big smile on his face and said something like, "Well, good luck. Something is not right, and I have to believe there are multiple people that know. I have to believe there is someone that still has a soul that wants to do the right thing and tell what they know. I pray someone offers them safely so they can. Please do the right thing and come forward." Wow. Well, Miles, why don't you react to that first since I've been talking for a while reading that comment and then we'll kind of go back and forth.
I mean, definitely, some very, very spooky experiences. I'm just kind of looking through this again. I mean, I hadn't read this before we jumped on. It's wild. I mean, what to think. Look, that could be anything, the box and the girls, but I mean, obviously the thoughts that you're thinking, when that's going on and you know what's happened, um, it's very, very spooky. Look, I think the most important thing is what Lisa says at the end, right? Which is that I have to believe that there is someone that still has a soul that wants to do the right thing and tell what they know. I pray someone offers them safety so they can. Please do the right thing and come forward. I mean, at the end of the day, we've talked about this before. I think that's the only thing that's going to break this case. I believe that there's multiple people that know what happened to Lacey and that they're still out there in the community. Some may be locked up, some may not be. And I think someone's conscience needs to, shake loose and they have to do the right thing. And listen, if us and our little channel doing this coverage and so many people in the community taking notice of that and talking about it is a thing that pushes someone into doing the right thing, that would be that would make what we're doing all worthwhile. As far as the details of what Lisa lays out here, look, every one of these things could have been a coincidence, but you put them all together and it's very, very strange. Especially the cop getting the call and then deciding like, hey, this interview's over. It doesn't sound like he got a call and he had to then leave the scene because he got called to, report to an accident or something. It sounds like he got a call and took a phone call and then was literally gone. So that's very weird. Um, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think everything you're saying is right. I mean, the problem with situations like this is it's so hard to tell what's a coincidence and what's not. I mean, when we talked to Pam, for example, about Jamie and her going to Jamie's house and it being empty and just the sort of like eerie feeling of what's going on in this house. Why is there no furniture in here? That sounds crazy, but we've had other people send us messages that knew Jamie at the time and they had some sort of plausible reasoning for it. I think it was either remodeling or painting or like it was something to do with a real reason a person might empty their house. But do we know the truth? No, we don't, guys. I mean, we're hearing multiple versions of this from multiple different people. We weren't there, and we also don't know of the people telling us this stuff. Who's remembering it correctly? Are people kind of seeing things with rose-colored glasses, or conversely, are they seeing menace where maybe there is a more like legitimate explanation? I would say, it's just all interesting to me. It doesn't look good, like you said, Miles. But a lot of times things don't look good and there's a really reasonable explanation for them. And without hard evidence to figure out what was going on there, we don't know. But look, coming at it from Nick's mother's perspective, going to this person she's suspicious of his house and seeing boxes being moved out, people driving by and making kind of like weird comments to her about good luck solving it. I can totally see where her headspace is at. I would feel so freaked out. And then you go to the police and you want to tell them about it. The guy gets a phone call and leaves, and that's it. I mean, like, how is she supposed to feel? Whether or not that's coincidence or not is anybody's guess. But yeah, I do want to say, Lisa, thanks for leaving the comment. We totally see where you're coming from, and I feel you. I agree, like Miles said, with the last sentiment, which is that everybody in your position and in Lacey's position has had some version of this where they just don't know what to think anymore and they just want answers. And it's got to be a real horrible version of a living hell to not know like what certain things mean when people say them to you. Does that person know something or not? And it's been years of this for them. So hopefully somebody can come forward and clear this up one day. I really hope so.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. I'm going to kind of go through the next few comments because they're all kind of along the same lines. They all kind of hit on the same themes. And I do want to say up top that all of these comments are the opinions and theories from our listeners. They're not necessarily our opinions and theories. Sean and I kind of have to say that. Cassie Furneaux, 8444, says, Norfolk court, etc., is corrupted. It's insane! Exclamation point. Tori Lee, 1978. Thanks for subscribing, Tori Lee. Says someone needs to look into Joe Smith of Norfolk, mentioned by the victim's family. The corruption in that county by that man goes deep, and several murders could be solved. Kate Lindover, 5313. I have said to Joe Smith so many times things that should have helped with this case, but they ignore every tip and every statement. Norfolk has an underbelly, and so many people turned a blind eye to it. So that's
Wow.
a sampling. I just want to say, we have gotten continuous comments on all of the videos that we put up on Lacey's case from folks that are in the area. And as Sean has mentioned, we've also had conversations with people who have reached out to us. Done a few phone calls. We've had, messenger conversations with people on Facebook. It's all kind of the same vibe, and the same names keep coming up.
Yeah, and for anybody who, for some reason, might be just joining us now, Joe Smith is the county attorney, which is basically the DA, the head prosecutor for the county of Madison in Nebraska. So we don't, it's interesting that Joe Smith has come up multiple times in connection to Lacey's case. Nobody has any hard proof that this guy has done anything, untoward as far as Lacey Anderson goes. But we have received a lot of articles from people about various allegations against Joe that have come up over the years in that county of different types of malfeasance. I don't think he's ever been convicted of anything. I don't even think he's ever been charged with anything. And if he has, then it was dropped because he is still the county attorney. And it's my understanding he's actually going to be retiring very soon. Somebody just sent us an article about that. So I do want to say we hear you guys loud and clear about your feelings towards this particular public official that you have. We totally get it. It's not really our place to litigate whether or not this guy is corrupt on this podcast. I want to make it clear we're not making that allegation. We are just getting a lot of comments that people feel that that is happening in their county. And so we're reading that and we're hearing it. And it is, I mean, it's making an impression on us because there's just such an overwhelming amount of sentiment in that direction. But, we do want to keep this focused on Lacey and what we know about her and not about trying to investigate the potential alleged wrongdoings of a local county official. However, that being said, we hear you loud and clear. And, I understand why when a case goes unsolved for 16, 17 years, people start to wonder, is it because there's not enough evidence or is there maybe something that is stopping it from being solved? And at that point, we've seen it in other cases. The public often starts looking at the people responsible for prosecuting or investigating crimes, whether they're talking about the police, sheriffs, prosecutor's office. This is a pretty typical thing. And I don't say that to dismiss your guys' concerns. They very well may be legitimate. Like I said, I just I can't go further than that because the guy hasn't been charged with anything. And that's not really the case we're looking into, right, Miles?
Right. Well, and yeah, and I would say for further reading, stand by for our video that's going to drop on Friday because that is going to be our suspects and theories video, which sort of covers everything that's been looked at as far as we know with Lacey and what's out there in the public. And we are going to link a bunch of articles, as Sean said, that have talked about specific incidents and potential corruption involving certain public officials in the area. So watch out for that. We're going to pin all the articles in the description when we put that video up this Friday. So I think all of you guys who are coming from the area and anyone who's sort of caught up and interested in what's going on and has been watching along with us, I think you're going to want to watch that one. I think you might want to even dive in deeper and read some of these articles that have covered some of this stuff from a local perspective, I want to add.
Yeah, I should say that's a really good point, Miles. I think there's some real good reporting that's been done on some of the sentiments people have here, and it's probably better that we just point you in that direction for further reading. But thanks for bringing it to our attention because it's not something I think Miles and I would know if it wasn't for the awesome viewer listener community making sure that we know it and reaching out. And I'll also say, I think I might have said this last week. A lot of people were scared to share that kind of information with us. They've been scared to share a lot of information about Lacey's case, but there was actually a real fear talking specifically about some of the authorities in the area. People don't want to speak up about it, which is interesting. Even like off the record and privately, people were really nervous to be sharing that info. So make of that what you will. I'm just, repeating to you what was told to us. And obviously, we're not going to give anybody's names out. So don't worry. If you're one of the people that reached out to us about that and it's not a public comment on a YouTube, video, we're not going to be sharing your thoughts. But yeah, that did happen and it was hard not to notice.
Absolutely. So we've got one more comment from our Lacey coverage. You want to read this one, Sean?
Sure, this is from J9G. The coroner is not the same as the medical examiner. The coroner, DA, just pronounces death. The medical examiner, pathologist, is an entirely different county and a different job, it sounds like. Yeah, this is an important distinction. I think a lot of times, and we're probably guilty of this too, when people start talking about autopsy reports and medical examiners' reports and what happens with a deceased person in a murder case, sometimes the words coroner and medical examiners start to get confused and slip up, especially in these like four-person conversations where everybody's talking about it and who wrote what. And it sounds like at some point that must have happened here. So yes, let's be clear. The medical examiner is not the coroner. The medical examiner is a pathologist. They're the person who writes the report. The coroner is a different job. And I think specifically, I'm guessing what we were talking about here. We were talking about what the death certificate said for Lacey Anderson versus what might have been on the medical examiner's report. And if anybody used the word coroner there, whether it was Miles, myself, or a guest, we apologize. We'd like to correct that now. And thanks for the reminder, DB. We like to be kept on track. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think we're also talking about who that person was and how many jobs they had within the local government and, you know, all of that. So,
Right, right.
um,
Yes, good point.
and if you guys want more details on that, just, look back on some of the other videos that we've put up, and perhaps just what we were just talking about as far as names. All right, I'm going to move forward into Ryan Stuka. So this is the mysterious disappearance of Ryan Stuka, who has still not been found. Our first comment here is Tilly Verigen 7007. As soon as this happened, my coworker said he was probably stumbling. A car hit and killed him, and they put his body in the trunk and took off. They could have dropped his body anywhere. I mean, yeah, 100% that is so much a possibility of what may have happened to Ryan. It would explain why there's never been any sign of him that's been found. There's no traces of anything. Why he just literally, as far as anyone can tell, kind of disappeared into thin air. He walked out of that house party and was never seen again, and there's no trace of him. So, that would explain it. And I think that's something that has been talked about before. Maybe someone just freaked out. I know that we've talked about the idea that like there were snow plows or something, but again, I think we kind of like dismiss that because obviously they would have giant lights and they probably would have seen him, and hopefully someone who's driving around for a living and taking care of snow wouldn't, accidentally run someone over. But it's quite possible. It's quite possible.
It is. And I mean, one of the things that's always really puzzled me about Ryan's disappearance is the fact that he hasn't been found in the places you'd expect a guy to be found if he just walked off on his own and expired in the elements, which is somewhere within the vicinity that reasonably he could have reached on foot in sub-zero weather in the middle of the night. So not finding him in that sort of radius is really weird. And the fact that scent dogs never traced him like out of the house or out of that property, I also find strange. And it does make me wonder, was he placed in a vehicle, whether he got in it or somebody put him in there and taken somewhere else? And that might be a reason why the dogs didn't find a walking scent trail. I don't know, and I'm also not an expert on canine, sniffing, even though it's come up on this channel many times. They probably should be an expert on it by now. But I've always found that weird. And I think this is one explanation that could make sense. There are also others with various degrees of people being nefarious or whatever. But we just don't know. I mean, there's
Right.
just so little to go on.
I mean, it's
Depends.
like these things keep coming up. There's the idea that, this rumor that he was hitting on some girls and there were some other guys who were, from a different area, but like local. They weren't there just to work at the resort. They took some offense to that. Perhaps something happened there. There's the idea that this was somehow related to, drugs. And then there's this, and then there's also obviously that Ryan just wandered into the, took a wrong turn, wandered into the wilderness, and God knows what happened to him. But I think this is just as plausible as anything else.
Well, guy walking at night on a road with not a lot of lights,
Yeah.
at an hour where there are drunk people out and about in cars. It makes a lot of sense.
Well,
I
and that's
mean,
the thing. We've talked about that, everybody's partying, right? I mean, it's a resort place. So like, we talked about the idea of, how many DUIs are there in that area? I mean, maybe someone was inebriated and hit him and they freaked
yeah.
out. I mean, it
Well,
wouldn't be the first time that's happened. I will
it
say
was a
that.
weekend at around 2 a.m. ish,
Hmm.
I mean, he was out at a party. Stands to reason a lot of people there were out at a party, drugs, alcohol in the town.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's hard to write this one off as implausible. It's
Yep.
definitely on the menu, I think.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah.
You
You
want
want
to
to
take
take
this?
this next one?
Yeah. Justin D 1045 says they searched Sun Peaks up and down and found no trace. So it stands to reason that if he's not there, he's somewhere else. And then parentheses that he couldn't have gone to on his own. Someone definitely knows something here and simply won't give up. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I just said, right? It's interesting that if they're not seeing him in the vicinity, then it sort of stands to reason that he may not be there and he may have been transported somewhere else.
Right.
Now, that being said, to play devil's advocate to that point, I've seen some cases where, a particular area has been searched 6 ways from Sunday, and one day, years later, the body is actually located there.
Look what happened with Chance. I mean,
Chance
we don't
Engelbert is
know
a
how he
great
ended up
example.
there, but his remains were there. So, and
Yeah.
that was a long time.
Yeah, and so sometimes we can all be surprised by this stuff. And it isn't in mountainous terrain. There's a lot of weather. The place is not searchable every day of the year. There really is a season where it's accessible. And so, yes, this has been going on for years. Yes, it would seem to common sense that we should have found Ryan by now. But the fact that we haven't definitely lends itself to sort of beginning to wonder, well, what else? Maybe he is somewhere else, and if so, why did he go? Did someone take him? It's
Right.
very thought provoking.
Yeah. We're gonna read a comment about Missy Beavers, um, which we haven't talked about in a while. So LD Dance 77 says this person is definitely bad S or on drugs. And obviously, LD Dance is referring to the perp in the famous video walking around. Yeah, listen, I don't know. I mean, I think that the person honestly might be really clever because they figured out a way to disguise themselves that completely confused everyone and they've never been caught. So, but I will
Yeah,
say that their behavior in the video is really weird. That, as we've talked about, that wearing a uniform, disguising oneself as law enforcement to commit a crime, and creating a situation where you could get pulled over, and be stopped because you're wearing a law enforcement outfit is a really, really risky thing to do. And I would say you could say it's crazy. You could say it's bad S. But I don't know if they're on drugs. I mean, you know, the behavior is definitely erratic, and it was a very, very, it's a very strange. It's what who as the True Crime Broad said when we did our interview with them. I think whenever it's found out who the perp was in Missy's death, it's going to be someone very strange. It's going to be weird, you know?
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, I also defer to the true crime buzz because I think that sums it up. I think trying to read the tea on what this person's deal is from the evidence available is really tough because what the hell are they doing? It's like no, we're all looking at it thinking the same thing, which is what is wrong with this person? Why are they in there? Why are they dressed like that? It's so hard to make sense of whether they're crazy or on drugs. I can't speculate about that. That's a very specific, mental state or issue. What's clear to me though is that they're not being normal in that moment. Almost everybody else in that town was probably in bed or up early to get to work, or maybe coming home really late from work. But very few people were in costume, breaking into a church, and then winding up murdering somebody. Only one person that we know of
Right.
was up to that. So,
While wearing a SWAT team outfit.
right. So,
Yeah.
what the deal is with that, yes, I think when we find out, we're all going to be very surprised, and it's going to be an unusual answer because it's
Yeah.
already unusual. I can't see it getting normal after this. That
Yeah.
would be that would maybe surprise me more than anything.
No, we never know.
Yeah,
We'll find out, I guess.
never
I hope
know.
so. All right, we've got some sort of not story specific comments that we
These are
wanted
just
to run
fun.
through because we like you guys so much. And we're so grateful that you guys leave us comments like this. You want to take it, Sean?
Yeah, this is fun. It's a little levity. And Miles, I think this must be about you, although it could be about me, but I haven't had this background really yet. So I think this is for you. It says, Konea says, the plant is a nice touch.
So
I
that
think
is
that's the
Coney
plant.
Coney Island. That is, I believe,
Oh.
that is my old friend Larry. Hi, Larry. And I think he's talking about this plant. So I didn't. I'm not responsible for it. It's the wonderful people who were Airbnb-ing their place in London. But thanks.
Larry, I'd also like to know now that I'm debuting some greenery, what you think of my plants. I've got a little bit of a jungle, like between two ferns vibe going on here. Got a little bonsai back there and sort of like a palm over here. So I don't know, guys. If you like Miles's plant, maybe throw me some plant love too.
Should
It
we
would make
go
me
for
feel
more plant?
more plants, less
Maybe we should
plants.
take a poll.
Yeah. I
Be a
mean,
nice
we could
break from
just
the murder.
we could move the show outside and just do this in a garden from here on out. It might be
Right, right,
might be a
right.
pleasant background for these grim stories. You
Uh,
want to take
yeah,
our good
our
here?
old buddy KG Penguin, hi KG, says, "Hey, I sent you both some membership ideas on your Facebook DM. Have a great weekend." Thanks, KG. I wrote you back. We appreciate you so much. Great ideas. We are working on that. Just so you guys know, we're working on a Patreon and we're also working on YouTube membership stuff. So those are going to kind of be two separate things, but we are going to be sort of like coming out with that. I would say probably within the next month or two. We just want to do it right. Obviously, things have grown pretty fast here. I mean, we've only been around for 6 months, but I feel like we have putting the time in to do things right. So we want to do it right on this one too. But we are working on that. And obviously, we won't be like hiding our main content and making a paywall there. All of our interviews, all of our long form stuff, our real coverage of the cases, that's still going to be available. We're just kind of trying to figure out some bonus content that we can create, or perhaps there's stuff that we weren't able to include in some of these interviews. So we're hashing that out, and as soon as we've got it all built, we will make a big announcement, and you guys will be the first to know about it.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. As usual, it's something we want to do right rather than rush into because we feel like we want it to work and make sense and not be sloppy. And obviously, we're super excited to do it. We wish we could do it tomorrow, but there's only two of us. The primary work we do is trying to get these cases, produced and out to you guys, and then all this other stuff kind of comes after that. So give us a minute. We're on it, and we're excited to share more when we have it with you guys. Speaking of some of our favorite loyal viewers, we've got Ruru to close this out. And Miles, again, I think this is for you. Ruru just wants you to know, have fun in London.
Thank you, Ruru.
Are you
I
having
I
fun in
am
London?
I am here for work, and my family is with me, thank goodness, and so that's great. But yeah, I can't say what I'm doing exactly, but I am producing a series for a big streamer. And it's kind of what Sean and I do in our day job. We are television producers, we're television directors, we make, kind of true crime content, investigative content. So it is a show in that world. And I think, at some point I could probably let you guys know what it is and ask you to watch it. Although it's completely unrelated to what Sean and I are doing here, obviously. But yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ruru. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
And to our viewers in London, it must feel great to have Miles in town for a little bit. Feel free if you see him on the street to stop him and say hello. Miles loves to talk to strangers, so
Right,
enjoy.
right.
You see him about town. Awesome. Well, I think that's it for this week. We do want to say thank you guys again so much. Lacey's case has been a real interesting one for Miles and I. There's a lot on it. It's more weeks, I think, maybe than any other case. If not, it might be tied with Liz or something like that. But it's a good like 5 week run on Lacey's case. So thank you guys for coming back week after week, diving into that from every angle with us. We realize, we bounce back and forth between cases usually more frequently. But the interest in this one has been great to see. And to all of our local folks in Madison and the area around there, thank you guys so much. I'm sure a lot of you discovered our show for the first time because of Lacey's story, and I've noticed a lot of you are now subscribing. So yeah, a big heartfelt thanks from Miles and I to all of you guys who have hopped on board.
We are doing everything we can to mainly try and platform these families, keep these stories alive, and see if they can get some answers and some justice for these unsolved cases. So we appreciate you guys so much for taking that journey with us. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.